Hello and welcome to Unit 6, our studio unit all about modern times. So this is Unit 6, Lesson 1. So when we think about what we've just studied, we've talked about the 20th century, and it really brought on these unimaginable ideas of change as far as art goes from the past generations. They would not have believed all of the different things and all of the different possibilities that the 20th century brought us. So it expanded on previous innovative ideas and took it to new heights, to new levels. They experimented with color, abstraction, and expression, all in the 21st century or 20th century. So now we're going to take those ideas and apply that to a piece of artwork that we're going to create ourselves. So what are we doing? We will be making two studio projects. The first one will be an abstract painting, and the second one will be a mixed media project. How are we doing this? By painting. We're going to then photograph and insert those images into a PowerPoint to submit them. And why are we doing this? To show our understanding of these new styles of the modern times. So the first studio project is this Studio 1 through 5 in the OLS, and we're going to be focusing on this concept of an abstract painting. So for today's goal, we're really going to do several things. First, we've got to make some decisions about what this project is going to look like. We're then going to collect some materials that we need. We're going to also collect images of inspiration or physical objects of inspiration for the subject matter for the painting. And then we're also going to prepare and set up our workstation. So the first thing we have to do is we have to make several decisions. The first decision is, what is your subject going to be? Are you going to paint a portrait of someone? Do you want to paint a landscape image? Maybe a genre painting or an interior inside scene? Or do you want to do a still life? So think about those different options and have one in the back of your mind. Do you have one? Okay, then we can move on. So the next thing you need to think about is using that subject. Which style of art did you like the most? Or did you feel the most connection to? Or do you want to try? Were you interested in the Fauvists with bright, bold colors used to express, used for expressive purposes? Or did you like the Cubists where they were breaking things down into shapes, flattening our picture plane? The Fauvists also flattened the picture plane. Did you like the abstract expressionists that were all about expressing their own inner emotions? Or did you like the surrealists that like to take some idea of reality, but twist it a little bit with the subconscious to get a really fantasy style painting? So thinking about those different areas, what would you like to try to focus on? For mine, I am going to do a lot of exploration of color, and I'm going to flatten the picture plane. I'm also going to incorporate this idea of background and object and not have a straight, very crisp edge. So when I think about this, I might be touching a little bit upon Cubism as well. So this idea of Fauvism and Cubism is where I'm going to hang out. You can combine these ideas and create your own style, which is perfectly acceptable. But the idea is we're creating an abstract painting. So today's goal really is you're going to start with the idea of choosing a subject matter. Well, I'm going to stay with my subject matter of my Stargazer lilies that I did for the last couple of paintings. And I'm going to have a bunch of paintings in the same subject matter, but in different styles. So I have a slightly different composition this time. I got rid of my still life, and I have a couple of photos that I'm going to use as inspiration. Not just one, but two that I'm going to kind of draw from and create my own image. So that's one of the things that you need to do is you need to come up with what is that subject matter going to be and start to collect some of those reference images. Or if I had physical flowers, I would go grab them as well, okay, to draw from and use as my inspiration. When we think about this, the bright colors of my flowers are going to lend itself pretty well to Fauvism and expression of color. Am I going to use pinks? Maybe not, but they're going to be bright, fun colors for my Stargazer lilies. So when you think about pairings, if you did decide to do an interior genre scene, Fauvism does go really well with that. Or if you decide you want to do a still life and you're struggling, Cubism fits well with that. So there's a couple of examples of different subject matter that pairs well with different examples of different styles. So if you're struggling, you could use one of those pre-established pairings. I am going to stress that we are trying to keep this simple. You have 5 days to complete this painting. Today's day 1, planning, prep, and setup. So you really have 4 days to complete this. So just keep that in mind as you set your goal here as to what you're going to paint. There's a couple of other examples of keeping it simple and subject matter if you are struggling with trying to find your subject. But when you're done, gather that information for your inspiration for your subject. After you have that gathered, I wanted to show you here an example of a finished piece. This is the example that was given in the OLS, and this is an example of brightly colored, expressive color interior genre painting in the Fauvist style. So you can see a lot of those things here. You can also see how the artist tilts the table at kind of a weird angle and flattens this picture plane. The chair does not look like it would be very sturdy to sit on. It almost looks like it would tip over and kind of fold in on itself. And that was typical of this style. So this is kind of the goal of where we're headed. Now, I also wanted to discuss today several of the materials that you need. So you're going to need to gather and set up your work area. So you're going to need some acrylic paints. These were provided to you by Insight, so you should have these. You're going to need some container to put water in, and I like to have bottles of water handy or that I've from my tap to fill those up with at my desk so I don't make a mess. You're going to need some drawing paper. I am still using my handy dandy canvas paper, so it feels more like an actual piece of canvas when I'm painting on it. It's not a bad idea, and I didn't pull it out, but I have some heavy duty drawing paper over here as well that I can use to do some practice painting on. I'll leave that out. I have a plastic container. This is the same plastic container that I'm using as my paint palette and then storing it so that it stays sealed day after day. I have a variety of different brushes. The brushes that Insight gave are in here, and they are really great for this, but I have a variety of different brushes for the project. It's not a bad idea to also have newspaper. Oh, I forgot a pencil so that I can draw. But to have newspaper to lay out on your area so that you don't make a mess of your table or your desk or wherever you're working. Always have some paper towels handy, so for cleanup if you do make a mess. And then optionally there you'll see an additional list of reference images like I showed you already. If you're going to do a still life, you might use some found objects and pull them together to create your still life. If you're going to do a portrait or a self-portrait, you might need a mirror. Ruler isn't bad to have. They come in very handy, so having a ruler. And then I also have a spray bottle, and this is used to spray my paint to keep my paint from drying out. I have that here in my studio space too. After you have kind of all of these things collected, you have your subject matter, you have your work, set up a workspace that you can leave set up for the remainder of the project. It's really helpful to have that kind of already set up so that you're not trying to find things day after day. So I hope this was helpful in getting you set up for day 1 of your Unit 6 studio painting. I also have on the screen there a couple of things that you'll find in the OLS, the Elements of Art PDF, General Paintings Tips PDF, Principles of Design PDF, and the Studio Instruction PDF that will also be very helpful. So taking a look at those and being prepared for tomorrow would be a wonderful idea. If you do need anything or have any concerns, please reach out. We will start drawing in our next session. Thank you very much.